candid conversations, unfiltered opinions, and humor with AVAG Beck's podcast.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to today's episode. I'm excited to be here. I have a founder who is in a niche that most people do not know much about. However, just because you don't know much about it doesn't mean it doesn't exist, does not mean that people do not have need within that community. So it always excites me when people who have lived experiences create businesses or create or found companies that actually addresses the needs of, the otherwise forgotten folks within that industry. So today we have the pleasure of having Alicia VanderGriend with us. She is the founder of Cowgirl Life Coach. See, I said most people don't know it exists, right? So I've never ridden a horse. I would love to. So it's going to be a learning experience for all of us. Welcome, Alicia. How are you?
Thank you so much for having me. And I love talking about horses. So it'll be a fun conversation. And yeah, there's a lot of people who have never rode a horse or are really scared to ride a horse. So yeah.
I think it's a fear for me. It's just the opportunity to do so safely.
What led to me finding Cowgirl Life Co. is really corporate burnout. I think a lot of people experience this. And I've worked as a project manager for more than 25 years in the environmental and marine biology space. And so as a scientist and a project manager, I was having to compete all the time for resources, money that was just continuing to dwindle down. And a lot of things were just happening that it just came to a point where I've been helping a lot of people put their ideas and proposals into action, bring in millions of dollars. And at the same time, it's just like feeling very lonely, feeling that I wasn't making the difference that I thought I was going to make in the career that I had chose. I just thought, well, I'm going to take off from doing this and create something that's actually mine and create a community around horsewomen and women who love riding horses, and start to offer some of the things that I have experience in and see if anybody's interested in working with me in this capacity. And so for the last year, I've been offering different services, whether it's starting a business or really finding yourself again. So Cowgirl Life Co. is really about lifestyle. And it's about, believing in yourself. It's about being brave and facing your fears, because horsewomen have seen a lot of things. And so you'd think like horsewomen, cowgirls are like so tough. But the thing is like once you have seen a 1,200-pound horse run through a fence, get stuck somewhere, roll into a fence, I don't know, just like buck you off, see your friend's horse stumble and roll over on top of them. I mean, like there's so many accidents that happen with these animals that there comes a point in time where your body shifts and your risk assessment, like when we talk about project management, we talk about risk a lot, but the risk assessment of riding to being safe changes. And I think a lot of women start to feel this fear in their bellies come up. So it could be, driven from a variety of different things. It doesn't necessarily have to be an accident. So Cowgirl Life Co. is really generated from the need of like, hey, we're swimming. Let's talk to each other about ourselves, because there's a lot of speaker noise coming in about what's wrong with your horse, how to change your horse, how to connect with your horse. There's nothing about like, how do I make myself feel better? Like, how do I show up for myself so then I can show up for everything else I want to do?
Yeah. So just putting into perspective, you mentioned a 15-pound horse, right? There are a lot of injuries that result from just handling horses in general. So it's brave for anybody, especially a woman, to embark on a journey of not only handling, but riding horses and, being in the general vicinity of dealing with at the end of the day, this is an animal with a mind of its own, right? There's a lot of bravery in that. So why do you think the noise, as you mentioned, has more focus on the animal or the horses and their well-being and connection and injuries as opposed to the riders, especially women?
Yeah, I think that there's a lot of horse trainers out there, and a lot of people will go and take their horse to a horse trainer, right? Like, my horse bucked me off. I need somebody to go fix my horse. Or my horse just doesn't know how to do things yet because it's young. So I'm going to send my horse to the horse trainer. Or there's a clinician giving a clinic about some type of horse riding discipline. Or I'm going to haul my horse over to this barn and have a trainer train me for a certain discipline. Okay. So like everything is really about the horse doing a thing, like people making the horse do a thing for another person. But there's not a lot of programs out there to help the human, the horsewoman, even men too, but like helping horsewomen work through their stuff while the horse is at the trainer. So like the horse is improving, the horse is riding good. Maybe it's not having, some of the stuff anymore, but you're going to come back as the horsewoman you were whenever the accident happened or whatever, to a horse that is improved, but you haven't improved because there's nothing out there. So, and it's all this investment in the horse, the saddle, the tack, the food, the supplements, like body massages, chiropractors, the veterinarian stuff. I mean, all of these things for the horse, but there's not a lot of focus in that aspect either. So it's like the mindset, the health, the organization, like even financial information on like how to wrap this stuff up for a horsewoman so that when she shows back up with her horse, she's brave. Because a lot of women, like, I am already paying thousands of dollars to the horse trainer to fix my horse. Well, you need to make the money, set aside the money to invest in yourself too. Like, it's not all about your horse. And so I think there's like, that's what I'm talking about when I say noise, is like there's just not a lot on the other side that really helps horsewomen get to know that it's okay to do this investment in themselves, or that it's like necessary even for them to do this.
So horses are known to be very smart, very intelligent, very intuitive, and, exceptional. There, some spiritual alignment and things like that horses have energetically. So I loved it. You actually pinpointed, that this horse is off to the trainer, is trained and is improved and well on its way to be this fantastic horse that you want. However, you are still stagnant and not doing much for yourself. It reminds me of projection that we humans even do with one another. Even, parents would do with their children sometimes. You need to obey, you need to fix, you need to address your attitude. But what are you doing to make that attitude worse? So is it natural to say that sometimes that humans don't see that they could be the problem?
Yeah. I mean, there's a point where you just want to keep blaming the horse for behavioral stuff. For example, I have a horse and he really had a struggle going forward. There were some days like I could not get him to move forward, and I spent a ton of money on vet bills trying to figure him out. I went to so many clinics. I was like, I don't know enough. I'm not that good enough of a horsewoman to like make this horse go. And so then I had another horse have a tie-up issue, and these horses they were wild horses, and they come from the same area in Oregon. And so this other horse has a disease, but I didn't know it at the time, but it is a disease where the muscles tie up, where they crunch up and they start spasming because the sugar cannot be released from the muscle. And so they just kind of tie up. And so all I had to do all those years with the other horses, just feed him so that he didn't have any sugar. But I didn't know this. So I had them all genetically tested. It came back with this muscle disease. Now they're fine, right? Like we're able to address the genetic issue, address the sugar feed them properly. And I think when we look at that scenario of, looking at the horse and like telling it's like a behavioral thing, it wasn't necessarily him. It was me not knowing how to ask the right questions. And he's asymptomatic for the tying up. Like he's never done that. So we didn't know to check him for that disease. And so like as a human, we could have done a lot better for him, but we didn't. And so I do think that there are things out there where if you look at it from the human perspective, like what could we do? And there's a lot of people who are like, they do have horses that they probably shouldn't have. Like there are horses that are for more advanced people and they do need things. And some people just have a dream with this horse and they are just so locked into it that they can't take themselves away from that dream in order to like let the horse go have a different life that it probably needs to have. And so that's like another struggle, I think, beyond sort of what you were talking about in your question about, where does the human sit? And there's also like things where we're holding back a horse from having the life that it probably needs outside of our care, outside of our skill and expertise, all because we come up with this like dream life with this one horse and get pretty locked into stuff.
That too, because I do understand that owning a horse is a huge investment. So the humans are terrible at letting go, right? So especially if they've invested anything, emotional, financial, you name it, energetical work, you name it.
Yes.
Be a tie into that because I do know that people own horses for different reasons, whether it's competition, whether it's, recreational, whatever the case, right? So, or whether it's, just to add to their collection of animals. So could it be that sometimes people have that hesitation? I just want to focus on the financial bit because of maybe the financial investment it took to acquire this horse, whether it's from purchase, vet bills, the upkeep, boarding, and all of those things. Is it that, the letting go is kind of like seen as, a loss or not really getting the return on investment that they originally set out to have?
Yeah, I think that's a really big thing. In fact, yeah, like you dump so much money into these animals, so much money. And if you can't make the horse yourself, like you've got to get help. Like you cannot do things alone. Like even the best horse people out there doing training, they don't do this stuff alone. Like a lot of people get help from other people. So there is a huge investment of time, of money, of commitment, of just like daily life, of caring and cleaning and doing all the things for them. So I think, it is hard to let go of a dream when you have made that investment. And then when you start looking at the financial aspect of it and you're like, oh my gosh, this is not like going to work out, right? Especially if it is a horse that you paid a chunk of money for and then it is not worth what you bought it for. And this happens a lot in this industry where people are buying high dollar horses and then they get them for 6 months, they get them for a year, or they get them for a certain time period and realize that, maybe they got swindled. Maybe the horse is hurt and it didn't show up before and it is now, or there could be so many different things. And you look at that investment that you made in that horse that was supposed to be so great, and now it is not. And it is not worth what you paid for it. And most likely to get to that conclusion, you've spent a lot of money in vet bills. So yeah, I think you're spot on in that regard of like people latching on for too long because they just can't really figure out how to cut their losses.
So since we're talking about the humans, the cowgirls, and the cow women, or, the women really on the other side of things and having people work through things, is there a way to help? Is, is there a way to kind of maybe help them recoup some of those, losses or investments that they made in the horses? So say, you mentioned somebody got swindled. Maybe somebody bought a horse because they thought the horse was a thoroughbred, with whatever. And, come to find out the horse, may not live up to the expectation of what they thought the horse would be. So is there a way of basically either selling the horse or releasing the horse to sanctuary in a way that is not such a financial blow to them? Because I know humans will hang on to things, whether it's working out or is not, just because they feel like they cannot recoup anything from, that investment. So are there, programs, given your company, is there a way you can align horse owners with programs that, may buy back the horses or buy the horses from them, or, give them some level of reprieve financially, for everything that they may have invested in raising this horse or caretaking for this, for the horse?
Yeah, there's not a lot out there, but I mean, there's so many creative ways to like offload the horse. I mean, you can sell it for cheaper, right? So like you might not recoup everything that you've spent on the horse. Most likely you're not going to recoup everything that you've spent on a horse ever. But let's say you bought a horse for $12,000 and it's a year later and it's bucked you off 5 times. That horse might be worth like $4,500 now. Okay. So you cannot sell a horse that continues to buck you off for $12,000. So what you could do, there's a couple things you could do. You could take that horse and just say, I'm going to sell it for $4,500. You could take that horse and find a horse that you really like. Maybe a trainer has a horse that, you've been following a trainer. You think this trainer is great, or you've been talking to some friends and they're helping you find a horse, and you find an ideal horse. Okay. You find your next thing that you're like, I'm good. Then you could say, I would like to offer my horse that I have now plus cash for your horse. And so you're still getting rid of that horse, and you're probably still making an investment into the other horse, but maybe you don't have to pay a full price again for the next horse because you've already made the investment in this one. So there are ways to trade. There's ways to do stuff like that. And then also, whatever you sell, like if your horse isn't as valuable as it was, then you can just sell it and that money can go back into finding a new horse. So that's like one example of probably so many. You could throw in all kinds of things like ATVs and saddles and like different tack, right? To make the value more comparable if somebody was willing to trade. And typically when somebody's like selling a horse, they'll say, yeah, I'm open to trades, or they will say, no, I'm not open to trades. I want cash or something like that. So you kind of know when you're buying and selling horses. Honestly, like the best horse deals that I've made have been when I've told people what I'm looking for, and my friends have kept their radars out, and it's been a private sale where the horse has never ever been advertised to anybody. It's like people didn't even know about this horse being for sale. And like we were like the first people to see it. We're first people to buy it. Or my friends have a whole pasture full of horses and I'm like, I like that one. And they're like, it's not for sale. I'm like, yeah, everything's for sale. How much is that one? So it's stuff like that where my best horses have come from kind of not the advertisement stuff, of just like knowing people through that way. Yeah.
Yeah. Word of mouth always works great. So good for you.
It does. It really does.
I love it. So let's talk about the trauma of being bucked off a horse. That trauma is real. Okay. That trauma is very real, right?
Yeah.
So let's talk about that trauma and how serious injuries can actually occur from being bucked off a horse. It is not a soft bucking, and usually the landing is not soft. So please talk about that. It's come up in the conversation a few times, but this is something that will traumatize anybody, man or woman, but we're focusing on women, on getting back on a horse and riding.
Yeah, I think it depends on what your injury is and how bad it is. I mean, some people can die. I mean, I just have so many stories of things, but I think that if you see someone else get hurt from a scenario like that, or like one of the things I've been talking about in like 6 unhinged things that I do to build confidence, one of the things is that I have blocked all that stuff. Like if there's anybody getting hurt in a video online, it immediately gets removed from my feed and I block it, because the more you program your mind, like by seeing that stuff, the more you increase your fear and feed that mental state. So
And the horses can
I've been,
sense that too, right? The horses are
well,
very
yeah.
sensitive to fear.
Yeah, because you're already programmed. Like
Right.
I'm just feeding it, yeah, and then I go show up, and it's like, oh my gosh, my horse is gonna trip and fall, and like the saddle's gonna roll over me, and like all this stuff, you know. And like I noticed one day there is a video out there of a girl who's just trotting in a field, and her horse trips and literally rolls over her,
Oh
like
my God.
completely. And like after I saw that video, I rode for the next probably. I mean, I could still recall the video in my head. I could go out there and ride and think about that same thing today. And so that's the moment I was like, I'm not going to watch this stuff anymore, because my horse isn't going to do that. Like my horse is not going to go bucking like a wild maniac down some road and buck me off. Like those things, like, so, when you see those things or you experience them, it is really tough to become brave and confident. But when you see people winning, so like I watch winners, I watch people in the winner circle, I watch people in disciplines winning, I watch them. I love watching reining horses like do the sliding stops and the fast spins. I love watching barrel racers run fast. Speed always gets me. I love it. I love people working cows, like in cutting, where they're like horses are going back and forth and like chasing a cow. I love those events. And I love watching the people's expressions after they do a good run. Like they're hugging their horse. They're like, oh my gosh. And it's just like, you're kind of right there with them. And then it makes you like feel so emotional. Like, and so good. And then when you go outside and you like see your horse, you're like, oh, good boy, good girl. Like they did it too. And so I think the content that we're watching is so important, because if you're seeing all this stuff, you're like, so good. That's so good. I love it. I love it. I feel so good. I'm ready to go ride. I want to go do that. And I think that makes a huge difference, because it's so accessible to watch either one of those things. But as far as like the injury to your body, that's kind of a different thing altogether. And it is, like I have a 40-day challenge coming up about becoming brave again. And it's really addressing those fears of how do we actually become brave again. And it's something that I had to do because last year I broke my knee in 2 places stepping off of a horse that he was being a little naughty, and I didn't want to ride him through what was happening. And so I decided to get off. And when some stuff happened, and then like I just kind of pushed myself off, I literally had like 12 inches to the ground, and somehow I just landed superwoman style and broke my knee. And, you know, getting over that with him especially was really hard. And he didn't even buck me off. It was just like, I don't want to ride what you're doing right now. Like I'm done doing this. And then, you know, then a couple months later, after my knees healed up, all this stuff, I'm on a trail ride and I'm riding a different horse, and we're in a trench, and he lunges out of this trench, and it's on the backside of a sand dune. So one side is like the ocean and a big sand dune and a cliff. The other side is like this steep hill with like all the shrub. And he hops out, goes into the shrubs, it's sticking him in his legs, and he's bucking around. And I'm like, if he takes off and I can't stop him, there's a bunch of trees that way. And if he goes under any trees, like I'm going to get like I'll get decapitated, you know? So it's like, I'm just going to get bucked off here. I allow myself to get bucked off, and I'm like laying on the ground, and cause I just kind of let go, and I'm laying on the ground. And the next thing I open my eyes, and he is coming over, like he had lost me in the shrubs. And the horse ran over the top of me. And I'm like, he's going to land somewhere. One of these feet are going to be on me. There's no way that he's going to miss me. Like, I just didn't know where he was. I didn't know where he was going to hit. And so I just clinched up, and he stepped on my shoulder. And that has taken some time to get over. Like mentally, that has taken some time to get over.
My
That was-
goodness.
But on a day-to-day basis, that horse is like not a bucker. You know, like he's like, I ride him every day, and he's like, he's a good boy. And he just got scared. Like he just
Yeah.
freaked out in that trench, and he didn't like it.
Goodness. So wait, you're still riding this horse after that
Yeah.
incident?
Yeah. He's my best boy. Like, we've won so many things and like done so much stuff. He's like the best. He's such a cool horse. He's so
Okay.
great. We had one bad day.
Okay. So what are you doing to heal?
So there's been a lot of stuff that I've had to do. So like with the horse that I broke my leg on last year,
Yeah.
he wanted me off as much as I wanted to come off. Like, he was unwilling. He was showing up saying no, like absolutely not. Like, his whole demeanor, everything about him, everything that happened in that scenario was like, mindset wise, I haven't been able to recover very well from him. And I have rode him since, but he did some stuff a couple weeks ago where he was offering that same thing again. And I just told him, like, look, this is it. I'm never riding you again. I'm never riding that horse again. Like, he's being sold. He's going to go away. I'm done with that, you know? And
So
then
were you two new to each other then, or you were familiar with each other? He was just not having a good day.
so I've owned him for 4 years.
Oh my
So
goodness.
So we know each other. He was my first Mustang. And so we know each other. And then the horse that bucked me off and trampled me and I still ride every day, in my mind, I could categorize that as like, this is one day in this horse's life that he was absolutely terrified. Like, he got so uncomfortable in this situation and I did not prepare him well enough to move through that. Like, and the thing is, after he bucked me off, he stomped me. I got up. Okay, my shoulder's not broke. I can't believe it's not broke, but like,
How
we're surviving,
question.
and we had to walk back through this like really deep sand, like a mile, and the horses were gone. My friend, her horse got loose too. And so we have two loose horses in the middle of nowhere. We don't know where they are. And we're just walking and we see her horse. And while we're walking back, I was like, I hope we find mine. I hope we find mine. And I was like, do you think he'll be waiting at the beginning of the trailhead for us? And she's like, no, he's like eating grass somewhere. And so, like, telepathically, I kept telling him to meet me at a specific place at the trailhead, like where we went in. And I had called like the park ranger to let them know we're in this park and our horses are loose. Like, please help us. Anyways, I got off the phone with that guy and I rounded the corner, and no joke, my horse was standing exactly where I telepathically told him to be standing. So that's the difference. That's like when I'm talking about, like, can I forgive this horse and get on? Heck yeah. And he was like, his little head was down, and then he picked up and he felt so horrible. Like, you could just see, like, his whole body was like, just, oh my gosh, he felt so bad. Like, you could just see it all over him. Like, he couldn't believe what happened.
Poor
Yeah.
baby.
Poor
So
baby.
where are we? Okay, where are we with the sand dune and the shrubs and everything? Has it gone down that path again, or can we not? Because I don't know.
Yeah. I actually have not taken him back to the
Oh,
beach.
please.
I actually haven't gone on any beach rides since then. There's a lot more things that I need to do
Right.
with him before I would take him on that trail again.
I feel bad for him.
Yeah. I feel bad for him too, because I think mentally, when we're thinking about what our horses are doing, and when like a horse that doesn't do stuff like that has a day like that, it is mentally easier to talk yourself through stuff than when you have a horse that continues to like say no. And I think that's kind of like the biggest part, is like, can I do this again with him? Yes. Would I be more prepared? Are there things that I would do different? Of course. And are there things that I'm doing at home to prepare him for these things? Yes, there are. Like, we've been going through a bunch of shrubs and those sort of things and letting him tickle his legs. And I can't really mimic a trench, but whatever.
Yeah.
We're trying.
Church sounds scary. I think I would buck too if I was ever in that situation. If it was like, okay, this is new. Why is everything everywhere? And
Yeah.
we talk about sensory overload with humans. I'm sure that was the horse's experience. I can't speak for the horse, but I think
Yeah.
of just the overload of everything happening at once: the sand, the shrubs, the trees, and kudos to you for recognizing that this was very much out of character for him. And
Yeah.
I'm very thankful your shoulder was not dismantled because a horse stepping on his shoulder. That's why I asked, how are you healing? Because I was like, okay, did you have surgery? Are you having surgery? What is going on with that? But I'm very grateful that you didn't have any kind of fracture or dislocation in your
Yeah.
shoulders.
One of
Yeah.
the things that's kind of a miracle is that I had gone through some Ayurvedic cleansing in a 12-week program with one of my Ayurvedic practitioners. And we did like all the different, it's called Dinatura, and it's these different practices for your body to keep your body cleansed and healthy and digesting and resting. And one of the things that is in there is called Abhyanga, and it's just like using oils for self massage daily. And so you're just daily putting oils on your skin and like rubbing oil into your skin and doing self massage. And in Sanskrit is called sneha, and that is sneha is also the word for love. So it's the word for love and it's the word for oil. And so while you do these practices, you're like, being really kind to your body, really thinking about like just kindness and love and those sort of things. And so I have a daily practice of doing that now. And in the first scenario, I hadn't been doing that because I didn't know about it. In the second scenario, my body, like I do this practice, and now like I feel like when he stepped on me, like he literally could have stepped on my heart. He could have stepped on my lungs. He could have stepped on my face he could have stepped anywhere, but he stepped right here. And somehow there was enough cushion under my body that it took the blow of him stepping on me and didn't break. Like nothing broke. And I just feel like that protection was there and that extra little boundary. And they talk about it, and they talk about the oil, and they talk about how it's like an extra layer of coverage for your body. And so I know that sounds super woo woo, but literally I just feel like I landed on a bed of angels. There's like a bed of angels under my shoulder, and their little wings are just like helping me so I don't break.
I look for the whoa whoa because whoa is science. So let me ask Alicia. So you have completely engulfed yourself in the Ayurveda practices, with the
Yeah.
oil, the massages, and everything of that nature. Now you are creating these things, you've created this company, founded this company for cowgirls who per societal standards, they're very rough and tumble and,
Yeah.
they can handle everything. So how do you infuse the softness of this practice with the women that you're working with? And you quite literally said woo-woo of things. And this is how people think, right? Natural is like,
Yeah.
oh, that's too woo-woo for my, how you just oils healing you, protecting you. Like, how do you broach this conversation, especially with this crowd?
Yeah, I mean, there are definitely like women who have been super reluctant of like, and that's okay. That's okay. But I think what is happening overall in the horse industry is that there is a real transition from like the brute grit of being a cowgirl and just like getting through things. I think that naturally through our lived experiences, through the way that we value the relationship with the horse and like the connection of like it being our friend. And it's like, a horse, like horses made roads. Horses made our entire country. They made the railroads. They made every single thing, every single bit of infrastructure, even like they call it two horses' asses wide, like to get a carriage down the road. Like, and they never changed that for cars. Cars are literally as wide as two horses' asses. Like, because horses have done everything for us. But the thing is the horse's job in our lives isn't doing that anymore because we have tractors and ships and we have giant machinery and like cars and jets and like everything, right? We have like engines now, so we don't need horsepower
Right.
anymore. So like their jobs and roles in the human experience have completely changed. And it's like, you think how amazing that is because there's like antelope and gazelle and deer and moose and like other cows even. Like we're not riding those, but for some reason, like a horse and a dog and sort of cats, but like, and sort of birds, but like this is an animal that can and is willing to live with us. Like, it is insane. And so, like, their roles in our life is changing, which is super cool. So I think that the softness of all of this is just naturally happening on its own because our conscious collective is becoming softer. Our conscious collective is starting to appreciate things that are benefiting us for our soul, not necessarily benefiting us for our life, like how to move forward. Because we're not, yeah, like these animals aren't plowing anymore, right? Like they are literally like, we're winning competitions or they're taking us down a trail safely. Like they're doing the things we want to do. And it's like, so like, this is entertainment and hobbies now. And I think that that leads the way for women to be more open. And I mean, there's horse chiropractors, there's body massagers, there's swimming pools for horses, there's day spas. And, they bring these little spa things to big rodeos and your horse can go and get their legs spa'd. And like, there's special mud. You put mud all over their legs and it draws out the heat. I mean, they have beamer blankets with like these it's like and PMEF machines and electrode machines, like all these things that you can plug in and like attach to them and just to make them feel better. So I think women are changing their view on the horse, and now it's like, let's move over to how we also treat our bodies in the same loving capacity that we treat our dogs and our horses and all of our animals.
Makes sense. We invest a lot into the animals and the pets that we have and we care about. They're part of the family, and that makes that investment easier, because how are you going to have your baby without giving them the most, right? So
Yeah.
sometimes we forget ourselves. So the work that you're doing with, cowgirls, it's incredible. So question for you: what is the impact you're looking to have your organization make, especially with women who, interact with horses on a daily basis, or own horses for leisure or for entertainment purposes? Or for work? You mentioned barrel racing. That's something else that I love watching. And for some reason, the children barrel racing is just they're the cutest little things. And you can see them go on the horses. Some of them have, matching bows and all of those things, which so cute.
So cute.
I know. So
Yeah.
what's your vision for cowgirling?
Yeah. So my vision for this company is that it becomes a resource for cowgirls, for horsewomen who find themselves like stressed, struggling, depleted, that this is a place where you can land where you're like, okay, I can find some organization. I can find other women who are in my scenario who have actually like gone through some of the things that I've gone through, and that there is a roadmap to becoming brave, to becoming organized, to finding information about finances, finding information about health and wellness, and really being able to bring that together in a way where it's like you're really feeling brave when you show up at the barn. It's like swinging a leg over your horse. Like you don't even have a second thought of like, oh my gosh, this is going to be a bad day. This could be a bad ride, because everything around it is organized. Everything around it is built in a way that like confidence can be completely obtained. Right. And so right now, like my big focus is really launching a 40-day challenge and really getting into like these different pieces over 6 weeks of like really integrating specific ways and like things that I've done personally in order to like become brave, right? So there's a lot of times I could have just given up and just said, forget it. Like, I'm not going to do this. Especially last year, there was many, many, many things that happened that I could have just been like, forget it. Like, I'm just going to sell everything. And I know like some women get to that point where they're just so down where they're like, forget it. Like, I'm just done. Like, I'll never be the writer. I'll never, I don't have the body. I don't have this, like, and it's not true, right? Like, none of it's true. Things happen and you can recover from it. And so this is like that's really like my focus right now is like really working on that in a holistic way. And hopefully in the next 10 years, we'll have thousands of horsewomen that have gone through the programs and built out cool ideas, built out their brave stories and really shown up. And so, yeah, I just like, I'm hoping like in 10 years, like thousands of women have like taken the program and really seen a difference, a transformation in their life.
I love that. I love it. Thank you so much. So something that I usually ask my guests, as we wrap up the conversation is to leave a few golden nuggets. You left some in what you said, earlier about not giving up and not quitting. What would you say to all the women who are watching us have this conversation, whether they're directly involved with horses or adjacent or just women, earlier before we got recording, we talked about women in their 40s, early, mid, and late 40s in corporate. What kind of there's got to be something more. Who is that? Reba? It's got to be something more. Gotta be more than this. What's that?
I think that's Reba. Yeah,
So,
I'm pretty sure. Yeah. It's a good
so,
song.
yeah, it is. It is. For women that are, kind of like in the space of, it's got to be something more, or women that, whether it's polo, whether it's competitive horse racing of different variety, or leisure, or just life in general, what would you say to the women listening to us today?
I think the biggest takeaway, like the little nugget I would probably feel like sharing today, is that every single one of us has a specific purpose. Like we have a specific life purpose, a reason that we're here. And a lot of times we know what that is when we're little. And then we go into like what the world tells us what to do. And we do those things for so long. And then you get to a point where you're like, I actually wanted to do this other thing. Like this other thing has always been calling me. And you can do this multiple times in your life. You can be more than one thing and it's totally fine. Some people just know what they want to be and get to do it like Taylor Swift. But since we're not all Taylor Swift, we might have to go a few times of like figuring this out, right?
Right.
So if that is you and you are just thinking about like, I have a big idea inside myself. Like I have this light and this light inside of myself is not for me. And it's like, if you are feeling down, if you are feeling sad, if you are feeling stuck,
Yeah.
like look at that light. Look at that light that is inside of you. Like whatever the passion is inside of you, like look at that and just know that that is not meant for you. It is meant for all the people who are waiting for you to show up. And so if you don't show up, then nobody gets to experience that light. And inside of every single one of us is beautiful messages for other people. Our light is always for someone else. And so even on the days when you're like, I don't want to post content online, I feel cringe, or I don't want to go to this public speaking engagement because I can't, I'm so scared to talk in front of people. It's not about you. It's about whoever is supposed to hear that message on that day. And that's the one thing that keeps me going. That's the one thing that is going to keep me going and staying here inside of my business, because I know that whatever I have to give right now this is not for me. Like like it's coming out of me, but it's not for me. So
I love it. So be a vessel. Just carry the message, people. Just
do it. Just
do
do
it.
it. Just do it.
Do it. Carry the message. That was
Yeah.
beautiful. I love the way that you put it. It is not for you and it's not for you. Please, please, please. Don't let the message, the assignment, the vision die inside of you. There's so many things that I do that I don't feel like doing, but I do it because it is necessary. There's a lot more I need to do, and I need to get out of my own way. So, Alicia and I were
Me
just
too.
talking about this before we started recording. So we are preaching to ourselves as well as preaching to you. So do
Mhm.
that thing. You have the experience. You have the know-how. You've lived through it. You wear the shoe, you know where it pinches. So somebody else is looking to not feel alone. and do the doggone thing. Do it. Post the content. Somebody is looking to hear from you. You know, do it. This is so great, Alicia. Thank you so much for being here. And for anybody who didn't catch, where they can find your organization, please, where can we find you on social media and also on web?
Yeah, awesome. Yeah. So I'm on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube at Cowgirl Life Co. So just type it one big chunky word. And my website is AliciaVanderGriend.com. And you can find out about my programs there. And I'm always open to having spark call with anybody who's interested in having a deeper conversation about where you're at. So I do also offer one-on-one coaching if anybody's interested in talking a little deeper about some of their stuff, because this isn't always easy.
No, nothing in life that is worth it is ever easy. Not
Right.
one thing. Not a
No, you gotta work.
Gotta work for it, you
gotta work for it.
So, if you didn't catch that, please do not worry. We'll make sure all of that is in this show note, so you can just click in and go to it. We'll make sure that this episode, we have the newsletter on LinkedIn. And, once the episode is aired, so you can find it on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, Amazon, wherever you listen to podcasts. So please engage. Go on, tell Alicia how beautiful she's doing, and get involved. So you don't have to need her service. You can sponsor the service to be provided to the people who need it. Partnership. Let's grow together. All right. Thank you, everybody, for listening. Thank you, Alicia, for being here.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye, everybody.
Thanks for tuning in to AVP71's podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to subscribe, rate, and leave us a review. It really helps us out. We'd love to hear your thoughts and continue the discussion. So join us on social media or drop us a message. Until next time, keep exploring, stay curious, and keep pushing the boundaries of your world.